Welcome to Faith, Fiction, and Folklore, or as we like to call it, the Tri-F Podcast, where we try not to mess the podcast up. And we've got a very big show today, actually. It's kind of crammed. We're going to start off, because this was a wild week, so we're going to start off with the House of David Episode 3 review. Trevor, how are you this evening?
I'm all right, but it looks like I'm blue on the live.
You are blue. It's your computer monitor, but
Oh.
I think blue's a good color on you, though.
All right, I'll be a Smurf this time.
That's all right. So, I guess sorry, go on.
Let's get into it. We got a lot of talking and chatting to do.
Yeah, well, let's get into it. I agree. So, what were your thoughts on David Episode 3? I thought it kind of dragged a little bit.
It was very drag. Yes.
Yeah.
I watched it last week or the week before, and then I rewatched it again today just to get a refresher, and I'm like, I've already seen this. So I just jumped around and skipped over, and it's like, oh man, that did drag on.
Yeah, there was a lot of, Saul's crazy. No, we mean it. Saul is really, really crazy. He is super duper crazy. He killed the servant boy. It. See, he's crazy.
Yeah.
And it was like you're just riding a clock now. I mean, which is irritating because it's not like the story of David is brief. You know,
no.
we don't need to have David face Goliath at the end of the show. Now, I don't know if you've watched ahead or not. I have not. But it's sitting here at episode 3. I'm thinking, oh no, they are going to drag Goliath's death until the end of the season.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why? This is not necessary. Why would you do this? Just kill Goliath already and then go on to the fight between David and Saul. Because that's really what I want to see. I want to see Saul's madness, affect David. And I want to see this rapport between Jonathan and David get built. And I want to see Saul. And it's like, no. You're going to wait for episode 2. And so we are going to basically, in order to drag things out into season 2, we're going to basically tell you that Paul is insane, or Saul is insane about a half a dozen times. And they threw Jesse under the bus again.
Yeah. Big time.
Which was infuriating. It's like, would you stop?
Not to mention, they really reiterated that David was a bastard. And I'm like, no, I don't think it ever said anything about that.
Well, it's suspicious. It's not in the Bible at all. But it's like why they would do it is getting really weird because they keep harping on it. You know, I understand things being filler, but they really harp on this thing. And it's not that interesting, to be just perfectly blunt. They seem to think this is like this dramatic turning point in David's life, and it's like, it's not. Like, if you understand anything about the Jewish culture, then you know that being the youngest kind of meant you were cannon fodder, for lack of a better way of putting it. The eldest was the one that got the majority of everything. And in that Old Testament world, it was kind of a bad deal to be the youngest. But from a biblical narrative, if you're looking for patterns and repetition of themes, which again, this is one of the reasons why I think the Bible is inerrant, because you've got these kinds of themes, even though these books, one story to the next, are thousands of years apart, and yet you keep seeing these patterns reemerge, which is always very interesting. And that pattern is David, being the youngest, is accepted over his older brothers in much the same way that Jacob is accepted over Esau. And so the younger becoming like the hero of the story over the elder is kind of one of the repeating themes. You know, it's like the underdog archetype, you might say, or part of it. And so I felt like they really needed to, hone in on him being the youngest and how, not necessarily that it's a dishonor, but that it's like, it's kind of it's a big deal for the eldest to be like lifted up and the youngest to be kind of overlooked. And instead they're doing this, no, he was a bastard thing. And I'm like, you don't need to do that. Like, there's plenty of drama
No.
just with him being the youngest kid.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Your thoughts. I'm just rambling now.
No, I'm right along there with you. I don't remember ever reading where there's this big long drug out story before David was anointed.
Yeah.
Like, I've never read anywhere personally where Saul and David had this huge backstory. I just know that, like Jonathan and David, they got this build up to where they're gonna become friends, but like I think they just knew each other and were friends.
Yeah. I'm going to make a prediction. I mean, I want to see this show succeed, but I don't think it's going to.
Really?
No. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to succeed because it's making the mistake of hyping up things that nobody cares about and then downplaying things that they should be given a lot more attention. The idea that David is the youngest is a pretty big deal in the story, because it's like God looks at the heart, doesn't judge man by his appearance. That's kind of the point.
Yeah.
They didn't give that any attention at all, and it really should have gotten the attention. I don't know why they're going after Jesse as hard as they are, because it's like, dude, who do you think taught David about God and Yahweh? Like who do you think he got his instruction from? I mean, Jesse wasn't completely useless. David was just the youngest, so he was out watching the sheep because he was too young to do anything else. It's not, they're making too much of that. And also, yeah, you want to see David and Jonathan become friends. You want to see David and Saul's interactions. Like the character relationships, they need to be between David and Samuel and getting those two to bond. They need to be between David and Saul. And they need to be between David and Jonathan because, Saul has to like David at first. In order for the story to work, they have to be tight because David, becomes a part of the household. And for Saul, I'll be interested to see if they do this in the show.
How does David become part of the household in the Bible? I don't remember.
Well, he kills Goliath, and he gets honored, and he becomes a soldier. And then him and Jonathan become friends. And also, David plays the harp to soothe Saul because of the spirit.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So all of that's got to happen, which that's plenty. I mean, that's plenty. Like I could see pushing the Goliath thing to kind of like a mid-season arc. But I'm starting to think, given how much they're killing time, they're going to push the David and Goliath thing to the very end. And I'm like, you guys are going to lose your show because of it. I mean, they did get renewed for season 2. I don't think they're going to get past season 2 because they're dragging too much. And we'll see. We'll see if I'm wrong, though. We'll see if I'm wrong. I hope they make it. But people want to see Saul and David interact. They want to see Jonathan and David interact. They want to see Samuel and David interact. I don't care about Saul's wife. I mean, it was cool that she saw a prophet of Baal. It was nice to recognize that they are things. It was sad to see Samuel's partner get cut up by an ostrich bone. But I knew that guy for 30 seconds.
Did that actually happen in the Bible?
No, they're just making that up.
No.
And just to twist the knife, they're like, oh, this guy's a father. He's got a child on the way. And this evil bad guy's going to cut him up. And we're going to do that for 20 seconds so that we know that the badman is the badman. Like, guys, I don't care. And this is the thing. I rant about this in my reviews constantly. This is about stakes. We know that Samuel dies of old age and lives through this whole thing. Why are we teasing this guy as if he's a potential threat? Anybody who has read the Bible or even has cursory knowledge of the Bible is not going to take that threat seriously. And so this poor guy getting cut up by an ostrich bone is just going to be perceived as a waste of time. Okay, well, you saw that scene, so let me ask you a question. Did you feel any anticipation and anxiety for the guy that gets cut up by the ostrich bone?
Yes.
You did.
But that's just because personally, I would not want to be cut up by an ostrich bone.
So you were empathizing, though. Let me ask you this: did you think Samuel was in any danger?
There for a minute, I thought dude was gonna try and like send curses.
Yeah, they
And
did play that, didn't they?
Yeah, and then the girl that the queen hires, the agent of Baal or whatever.
Yeah.
I thought she was gonna try curses on Samuel.
Yeah, that was a strange moment. That was a drop plot point, I thought.
Yeah, because
sorry, go on.
they could have really taken off with that, but
well, I'm a little nervous because it's like, guys, I mean, I think I get what you're trying to do, but please don't go full Gandalf and Saruman here. That's not what the prophets were. Let's not do that. I was starting to get a little nervous.
I mean, the only one that got anywhere close to Gandalf was probably Elijah. Or Elisha. Which one was it? Ask God to drop the pillar of fire.
Yeah, I know, it's Elijah. But I was like, we're not going to have like a soothsayer battle or something here, are we? Because that's not... That's kind of dualistic. Like, from a theological standpoint, like, God just wins and these things don't even compete. That's kind of the theme. There's not going to be... It's not going to be a close struggle. You know what I mean?
No.
It's not like Samuel's going to be like tormented and he's going to have to overcome some demon. Like, that's not how that works. Like, you pray and then God deals with it because dualism is crap. The evil is in no way, shape, or form equal. Yeah, evil's not equal to God. We're not an equal countervailing force to God. That's Eastern dualism. That's not scripture. And I'm a little nervous they're going to go that way. But it was kind of a drop plot point because, yeah, they have I know what scene you're talking about. They have the grass blowing, and they have Samuel looking around going, you know. And then it's like a cut. You do a dramatic jump cut, and then nothing happens. Yeah. And Saul's like, you know, and it was a little silly because you have all this buildup, and they tease like they're going to go after Samuel. Samuel doesn't seem to know anything happened at all, other than the wind blew really hard for like 30 seconds. Like, oh, what was that? And I'm like, wait, are you redirecting the curse back at Samuel? Well, why didn't you show it?
Yeah.
And then at the end of the show, they have Saul sitting in his throne, and he looks perfectly fine. Like, it was a silly scene. Like, the end of episode 3 was just ridiculous because it was like, he's sitting in his chair, and he's not really doing anything. But they've got the intense music, like, dun, 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 dun. And he's like, this is how you know it's bad. Like, Saul's the bad man. I'm like, well, I knew that before. Like, is he super duper crazy now? It's like, I'm confused. Like, was Saul unable to sit in a chair before the prophetess did whatever she did? Like, what was the point behind the scary music?
I think what they're going for is that he's gone mad. That's his throne and no one else's. And so he will do whatever it takes to keep it.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the narrative they're going for.
I agree. I think, you know, but I felt they were trying to connect it with what that prophetess did. But they didn't show anything beyond just playing scary music. Yeah. So it was still confusing.
Well, I mean, the scary music is sometimes half the show.
Yeah, but that's kind of lazy writing, in my opinion. It's like when you're relying on like your visuals and your music cues and everything to make your point, it's like you're being lazy. Like, you need to set the scenes up. You need to actually show things happening. You need to have action and reaction, cause and consequence. You can't go, oh, we're going to redirect the curse, and then not redirect the curse or not show the curse being redirected. Like, the way that should have went was, I'm going to redirect the curse. And then somebody, whether it's Samuel, which it shouldn't have been Samuel, that'd have been really stupid, but somebody else gets hit with this thing, And then it looks like you need a scene to establish that. And then it looks like Solomon is okay. And then, of course, in the next episode, he's going to end up being worse or whatever. You know, that's how that needed to go. Like it looks like it's redirected. And then it looks like the curse worked. And then in the next episode, things are worse than ever now. Like that's how that needed to be structured. Instead, it's like, oh, are we going to do something to Samuel? Anybody who's read the story is like, no, you're not. Don't even tease me with that. That's ridiculous. And then Samuel's like, or Saul's sitting in his chair, and everybody's like, why is the music playing? Like, what? I guess he's better, but we're playing scary music? Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, it was weird. It just didn't make a lot of sense. Yeah. It just didn't make a lot of sense to me. The other note I had was, I'm starting to get strong woman vibes from this show.
Oh.
just a little bit. And I'm like, guys.
I was going to ask you about that. What, did the queen have as much power as they're giving her?
No. And we don't even know, to the full extent, like, what the sickness was. It was an evil spirit that attacked Saul. So that doesn't, like, it was a cool idea to have him swinging the sword around and not knowing what's real and what's not real. I mean, that's okay, but there's a hierarchy. You understand what I'm saying? Like, there's a hierarchy for that sort of thing. Like, Abner would have been a little more assertive, or Jonathan would have started taking control. Because, like, it's a patriarchal society. Like, the guys aren't going to listen to the women, be that right or wrong. Like, they're just not. Abner is not taking orders from Saul's wife. That's not happening. Like, you have exceptions, you know? Like, you have Jezebel, but just as a norm, that wouldn't have been a thing. But, you know, and again, one or two characters like that is fine, but it's getting to the point where it's like everybody. And I know what they're doing. It's that freaking commie Hollywood checklist thing. They don't even let you tell a good story unless you do the commie Hollywood checklist. And if you look, David's biggest influence is his mom. Jesse can't be a good influence on his wife. It has to be his mom. Samuel's getting, advice from I'm assuming that other girl was his wife, but I don't know. But Samuel's having his moment of doubt, and the woman has to pick him up. And then Saul has his... It's the same. It's the repetition. They're repeating that theme. And it's not because they actually think women do good things too. Everybody knows women do good things too. And if you wanted to do a pro-feminist story and that was your main focus, somebody tell the story of Deborah, please, okay?
Yeah, or Esther.
Yeah, or Esther. Like, there's a lot of other characters that you could do if you're wanting to push a feminist narrative. You don't have to shoehorn it into other stories. But that checklist, it's like a man cannot have his own initiative. Like, there always has to be a strong woman pushing. Like, it is a checklist thing. And so it's just it's a trope. Even if it wasn't a checklist thing, I think it is. I think it's, producers require that sort of thing. But even if that wasn't the case, it is a very tired trope and they need to drop it. You know what I mean? Like, even if I'm wrong and there is no checklist, it's still a really redundant trope.
What's a trope?
Just, it's like an archetype, like Boy on the Farm, like Liar Revealed, like these story arcs where you just see them over and over and over and over. And I'm like, guys, 3 strong women in the same story for 3 episodes, that's too much. You're getting repetitive. Stop. Like, back off. Like, 1 strong woman, maybe 2. Don't give me 3. Don't make every blasted leader in this series taking his cues from a woman. Stop it. Like, 1 is fine. 2 is tolerable. Like, 3 for 3 episodes, calm down. Just calm down.
Calm down. Just calm down.
Yeah, it just gets redundant after a while. So there was that. But we'll see. We'll see if that it's not a big deal if it, like, stops here. You know what I mean? And, for example, with Saul, it makes perfect sense, like, narratively speaking, for the wife to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that, for Saul's wife, that fits. I don't think Abner's going to be scared of her. They kind of jumped the shark by making Abner take orders from her. But to make her assertive, make her cleaning up after Saul's mess. Like there was that scene where she consoles the mom who lost the kid and then gives basically the implication is she pays the family off. And she's kind of secretly running the kingdom and using Saul as a mouthpiece, more or less. Yeah. That's fine. It's just she wouldn't be that like overt with Abner. Like that was just a little too much. But she would have had, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Abner would have been loyal to her, I suppose. But I felt like that was a little much. But that aside, having her more assertive did make sense. It's just Samuel having his weak moment and then getting comforted was a little weird. And then this whole, really the main issue, I guess we keep coming back to this, the main problem really is making David a bastard. Like that is starting to really affect the story in a bad way.
Yeah.
In numerous ways. Like it's not good. It's starting to really cramp things.
Yeah. And I felt like they really, really tried to hone in on that on this one.
Yeah. Hang on just a second. I'm texting Jess to make sure our audio is not echoing or something stupid.
Well, I've unmuted it a few times this time, and it seems to be okay on my end, from what I can tell.
Great. All right, because it's like every time we open the show lately, it's been frustrating.
Something's messed up.
Yeah, something's messed up. So, all right, but if they back off now, the whole strong woman thing isn't going to be that big a deal. But we're in episode 3. We've already got 3 central female figures, And you got to remember, even in episode 1, there's kind of this implication that a lot of this is going to get told from Saul's daughter's perspective. Jess says, sounds good.
Sounds good. Yeah.
I will say, thank you, Jess. So, if they stop it here, it'll be fine. But, you've got, like I was saying, this looks like it's going to be from David's wife's perspective, or a lot of this is going to be from David's wife's perspective. At least they open the narrative up from her point of view.
Yeah.
So it's just getting it's just pushing it. Valley of the Giants scene was good. I liked the witch.
Oh yeah, that was interesting.
That was good. I enjoyed that.
To give Goliath like a backstory instead of him just showing up.
Yeah, well, showing the Philistines like making the alliance with the Giants.
Yeah.
That was a good touch. I did appreciate that. It did create a plot hole, though. As much as I liked it, it created a plot hole. Because you've got that town that gets attacked immediately after the Amalekites, right?
Right.
The implication is the Giants were working with the Philistines even then.
And
then the guards attack David and his brother in the previous episode. But now the Philistine king in this episode is making a deal with Goliath. So implying that they weren't working together before, which I thought kind of created a plot hole.
Well, didn't in the last episode one of his advisors was worried about the Israelites walking all over him?
Yeah, no, the Philistines were afraid of the Israelites, but that big iconic scene that they've been pushing with the giant bloody handprint on the tower.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so they were implying in that scene that the Giants attacked the town, but then it's Philistines, that attack David and his brother, and that seems to imply that the Giants and the Philistines are already working together. But in this episode, they're just setting up the allegiance. So that's confusing.
No, I think they said 1 year earlier or something like that.
No, I don't think so, because
no, that was in the very beginning.
Yeah.
Right after the David getting hit scene. That's right.
Yep. So It's a plot hole, because they said, they implied with this attack on the town that the Giants and the Philistines are already working together. And then in this episode, the king is just setting up the allegiance, or the ally partnership, let's say. So, not a big deal, but because if you wanted to write for the writers, you could just say that the Giants attacked the town and the Philistines moved in later.
Yeah.
If you wanted to just try to fix it in your head canon. But that was a plot hole, in my opinion.
Plot twist.
All right, what's next? I didn't like what they did with Samuel's vision when David gets anointed. That whole weird jump flash cut thing where you've got like the
when
lion
he
face and all this stuff
touched
happening.
his heart?
Yeah.
You didn't like that?
No, I thought that was a little hokey. I thought they should have kept it more mysterious. I thought that was a moment where they should have downplayed it a little bit. In my
Really?
opinion, yeah. You liked it though, huh?
I liked it. I thought
Yeah?
it was interesting.
That's interesting. Okay, well, I mean,
Because
that's
it
subjective.
ties in, with where it talks about David was the Lion of Judah or whatever,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I think they were just, going off that.
I thought it was a little hokey, but that's okay. And that's a subjective taste thing. If you liked it, I mean, I can't really refute it. So, I mean, I just thought, I don't know if the Almighty talks through disjointed visions. Maybe.
He does.
Does he?
Does to some
He gets-
people. Yeah.
I mean, who am I? Who am I to say that he doesn't? I just thought that's a little weird, but okay. Okay.
Well, I mean, some people he talks to them through their dreams. Others he talks to them through just the word.
Mm-hmm.
Just them reading the Bible, they get revelations. And then other people, he literally has to show up in their bedroom and be like, "Hey, it's me. Hi."
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying.
So there's all kinds of stories that God shows up.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you're fine with it, I mean, I thought it was a little much, but if you're good with it, I can't refute it. I have got Jesse being this Jesse thing.
You're really on the Jesse thing. Huh?
It just keeps getting brought back up. It's like the first couple episodes, I'm like, okay, they're not saying this is actually how the Bible depicts things. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But we're at episode 3 and they're still harping on it. I'm like, guys,
Well-
you need to stop. And I've got this in my notes multiple times, so it's starting to really bug me.
my thoughts on it is, this is me thinking, they might be trying to tie Jesse to when David messed up. That's where he got it, was like father, like son.
That's an interesting theory. That's a good catch, sir. That could be. You
This
could be
is
right.
my thought.
That I hadn't thought of that, but that could be what they're gonna do. They might be trying to draw a parallel there.
I don't remember where it
Interesting.
says, but it talks about flesh of my flesh.
Mm-hmm.
That's just, like father, like son type.
Yeah, no, man,
Was
that's a good
not
thought. That's a good thought. You might be right about that.
What's the word? Not flashback, but like flash forward.
Foreshadowing.
What's that word?
Yeah, foreshadowing. Yeah.
So that's just my thought.
Well, I think that's all I've really got on this. We'll pick up episode 4 next time to end this episode, or this part 1. Jessica Lambert says, based on a true story is never based on a true story. I agree. Usually the true story is there once was a guy. So
it's more like biased on a true story.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I think you're right. I think the bias is a little bit necessary because, you got to interpret, you got to read some inferences into the text to create that story.
Yeah. Textual criticism.
A little bit, well, in a way, in a backhanded, in a sort of way, yeah. Like, personal reader inference, basically. So I mean, it's not formal textual criticism, but, people have to kind of put the pieces together in their head, so. But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I don't know. I'm like starting to get a little nervous. Like, I've liked a lot of what I've seen. I've liked the blood. I've liked the fighting. I like that we're not doing the, pacifism Christianity in this one. This is very violent. I do like that. So there's a lot of good things going for this show, but I'm starting to get a little antsy with some of the
analytical.
Well, I'm just seeing political, like, deals. You know what I mean? Deals being made. I'm starting to suspect. I don't know. I don't know.
More Hollywood than biblical.
Yeah, it's like Amazon. And again, I don't know, but it's like, yeah, certain things have to be included in the story for it to be considered a quote-unquote good story. You know what I mean? So I'm starting to get a little antsy. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm not giving up yet. I'm not giving up yet. So we're going to call it good on that one. So we're not leaving.
Right.
This is just the end of part 1. So this will conclude our review for David, House of David, episode 3. We'll do episode 4 next week.
If you're lucky.
If we're lucky. If we can. And we'll see how it goes. So with all that said, this is the end of part 1. We're going on to part 2. So this is just for editing. But guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. And do you want to lead us into part 2, Mr. Trevor?
Part 2.
Yeah.
Part 2.
Or should I redeliver that delivery? I felt that was a little canned. Should be more emphatic with my delivery at the end for the end of part 1.
That's right.
All right. I'll do it one more time because I didn't like the way I said that. So, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Faith, Fiction, and Folklore. If you did, we would love it if you would subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Rumble. We can also be found on X, Instagram, and Facebook. And we are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Thank you again very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.